What is going on, Crowdfunding Comics? It's the brain of the mainframe, Nile Scala here with another exciting episode of Crowdfunding Comics with the brilliant, talented, my friend, my comrade, Mr. Billy Tucci.
Hello, compadre. How are you, my brother? Good to see you. Our very first free comic book day show.
Yes, yes. And what did your free comic book day adventures have in store for you?
Oh, it was one for the ages, my friend. I went to a store out by me on Long Island called Fourth World Comics. An amazing shop. Glenn, I've known Glenn for 25 years. I used to sell him individual issues of She when She #1 first came out. Right when the book first came out, like the first week. I guess the book came out on Wednesday. I probably came to him on Thursday and said, "Would you like to buy some of these comics?" And I think out of pity, he's like, "Yeah, I'll take some of these, sure." And he bought some of them from me, and then of course it the whole thing blew up and everything.
Spiraled
downhill. Cool. He's always been a great guy. I did his show I did a free comic book day one time at his store. I actually did 3 stores one year with Jim Shooter and J.C. Vaughn, and we ended up hitting his store last, and then we all went out to dinner. It was great, but it's in Smithtown, Long Island, New York. Amazing store. Got to sit next to Peter David.
Ooh, nice.
Keith Dallas, and then Greg Pak. John Brolia, my partner on Zombie Sama, he came in after me because I was supposed to sign from 12 to 2. Next thing I knew, I looked up. It was 3 p.m., and I was like, "Oh boy, I got to go," because we had a Kentucky Derby party to hit. And then after that, it was my niece Sam's. I call her my niece. She's like my niece. It was her Sweet 16 party. So Deb and I headed out to that, and William, and it was a monumental day. Got up at I don't know, maybe 8 o'clock because Matthew had a baseball game at 9, and went to bed about 1:30, 2 o'clock. Probably 2 o'clock by the time we got home.
Sounds like a pretty boring weekend, man.
Yeah, well. Then yesterday on a Sunday, it was pouring out here up in New York, and I'm sure you had the same weather.
Oh yes.
Up by you, and what we did was we stayed in, watched the Yankee game, and then we watched Hostile Planet on Nat Geo all day, and it's an amazing program.
So did you eat junk food and watch Hostile Planet all day?
Yeah, Lay's potato chips, whatever was left of the Easter candy. Watched that, and then we ordered Italian food, pasta and stuff, because Debbie was not cooking. She was dancing all night, and she needed a day to recover. But how about you? How was your free comic book day?
Oh, it was a little uneventful, but I did check in with my guys at the Comic Cabana here in Waterbury, Connecticut, make sure everything was going on. Usually I do a raffle of some sort over at the shop, but wife wasn't feeling the best, so we stayed in, and I just kind of hung out and chilled with the twins.
Excellent.
So it was a good time. Got some writing done, some drawing done. I actually got an awesome piece in. I don't know if you were ever watched Aqua Teen Hunger Force or ever a fan of it, but Carrie Means, who voices Frylock, this gentleman right here, he sent me an awesome illustration. Now, he didn't draw on the show, but we were chatting, and I saw some stuff. I was like, "Hey, man, that looks awesome." So I got this beauty over the weekend, so now this is added to the collection in the studio, so I thought I'd share that with everyone.
Nice,
yeah.
Nice.
So we have a special guest tonight.
Yeah, so we've been talking too much. So we have a great guest, a great buddy of mine as well. Let me see if I can play with this angle a little bit, because so I could see better. I'm sorry, guys. Whoa, there goes a camera. Sorry. Okay. Okay, is that pretty good?
Yeah, why not? Try to bring a little more centered.
What do you mean, center me?
Center yourself a little. There you go. Oh.
It falls down if I center myself.
As he comes from us from the depths of hell.
There you go. Because you always say go up, right, Nile?
Leon, welcome. Yeah, you always go top down.
Hang on, let's do this.
Top down, sun up. That's the way I looked up.
Hey, if we can't have fun doing this, I don't want to not have. Anyway, we're wasting way too much time on us.
Yes.
On our. When this is not about us. This is about our 17th episode and our superstar guest, the one, the only, Mr. Sean Forney. Where are you, Sean?
Sean, hey guys. How are we doing today?
Great. How are you guys?
Oh, we're hanging in there.
Awesome.
Very sorry, my friend, for our ballyhoo and our tomfoolery, if you will. We're back now, and we're growing, and this is all about you. This is your show. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing great. Doing great.
So let me ask, how do you, how do you gentlemen know each other? What's the history of your little friendship here?
Oh, geez. Billy and I met, I want to say it was Motor City Comic Con years ago. Mutual buddy, I believe, is who introduced us, Josh Warner or Jalen Warner. God, probably, I'm going to say like 10, 12 years ago, something like that.
At least. Is he still our buddy?
Oh, yeah.
Is he still our buddy?
He's a great guy.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
And I think it was either if it was the Motor City I'm thinking of, that was a bad one. That was a crazy one. It was bad in a good way.
Yeah. It typically is. I mean, it's always crazy good time, and the fans are just amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we want to talk to you today, and welcome our crowdfunding centurions. Hello, everybody. Good to see you guys out there. Please give Mr. Sean a like. We see people are popping up already.
Yeah, like, share, spread the word. Let's have a good night tonight. Some great conversation.
Yes, because tonight we will be asking our guests all about the important things in life, i.e. cutest hairstyles, what the perfect date looks like, his horrible first period story, and which celebrity would he marry from the Avengers. So welcome, Sean.
So, Sean, who would you marry?
Now, first period is something that happened in school out there for you people.
Yes. I'm so ill prepared for this.
Yes, you could. So, but how are you, brother?
I'm doing good.
You're doing good. You're like caught off guard. Like, what's wrong with these guys? Well, come on, Sean. We've hung out. You know what it's like.
I know. I knew come in expecting nothing.
Right. So, well, first of all, congratulations on your three crowdfunding. They're all Kickstarters, right?
Yes.
All
Thank
of them
you.
have been fulfilled.
Yes.
Your most recent being Scarlet Huntress Adventures, and it just ended.
Yes.
And at the end of the month. And I know you're real busy with all the behind scenes stuff, packaging, getting printing ready, getting the book done, all that stuff.
It holds life.
What, Nile?
Oh, no, I'm talking to Chat Master Frank.
Oh, Master Frank, Jam Master Frank. You talking to him out there?
Yes, sir.
Anyway, so the crowdfunding ended about 6-7 days ago, right?
Yep.
7 days
Yes.
ago. I guess 6-7 days ago. Where are you now with it? What's the next stage of your Kickstarter?
So I'm finishing up all the artwork, and we are doing the real fun, enjoyable part of like crunching all the numbers, trying to make sure we've got all the proper packaging and all the materials to do that, making sure we've got our printer picked out, and just trying to finalize everything. We're still, because it only ended 7 days ago, we're still trying to go through and do the stuff to make sure everybody's back, like their credit card ran and all that kind of stuff.
And all that, yep. Who's the printer that you use?
We are looking at using Artist Express.
Yeah, great.
I've used them a number of times over the last, probably 4 or 5 years, and that's my game plan, is to have them do as much of the fulfillment, as far as the printing goes, as possible.
Yeah, Anthony's fantastic, and I think we're going to have him on, right, Niall?
Yes, we are having him on.
Yep. He does a lot of printing for Kickstarters and Indiegogos and stuff, and he's just an awesome guy.
Yes.
He gets the shirt off his back for you, which is pretty great.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy, and yeah, like I said, I've had him do a number of other stuff for me over the years, and everything always looks fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah. He's a cool dude. I tried getting him on. He's like, yeah, I definitely have a face for radio. But he's got some. I think he's gonna have some great input on printing and all that stuff. Because Antonio D. I mean, he's becoming like the name, the source for self-publishers, Kickstarter guys. Everyone's going to him, and the quality of his work is great.
Oh yeah.
So Sean, let me ask you, like, when did you? I've been ever since I kind of saw you. We became friends on Facebook. Actually, I think I friended you because maybe like a year ago I saw your work and I was like, wow, this stuff's really awesome. I'm just gonna friend this random stranger and we're gonna be friends. And
I'm so bad.
I was like, you're gonna be my friend. You're gonna be my friend, and we're gonna color together. And so it really inspired me to buy my 64 set of acrylic crayons. But anywho, like you know, I really like your style. I like your art. You know, the coloring. So tell me, like, where did it all start? When did you get into drawing? Kind of like, what's your origin story of you and getting into comics?
Uh, as far as drawing goes, I was probably like under two. And it was one of those things where, mom and dad handed me some crayons and some paper or coloring book, whatnot, and just let me go to town and, fell in love with it. And as far as comics, growing up, a lot of times, like before kindergarten, I would spend some days going to work with my dad. He worked at a job where it was kind of convenient. Instead of hiring a babysitter or something, I could go hang out with him,
Mm-hmm.
and it'd be stop off at the corner drugstore and pick up a comic book or two on the way to work. And the first comic book I ever picked up was it was a Marvel Presents Spider-Man issue, and at the time I had been watching Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends on Saturday morning cartoons, so it kind of hit at the right time. It was right character, right stuff to pick up and start reading, and I just fell in love with it. And around the time that I was in junior high or something, I started seeing Wizard magazine articles. Yeah. And learned about this guy Billy Tucci and his comic and how he got in the industry. And it was reading an article with Joe Madureira and how he broke in the industry, and he was like 16 at the time. And that's what really hooked me, because I was only a few years younger than that, reading this thing going, wait a minute, I could do this for a living? And it hit, and all this stuff just, I finally connected all those dots and just went after it.
Very cool, very cool. Now let me ask you a question, because you brought up something of going with your dad and going to like the pharmacy and you got the spinner rack. I mean, I miss those days. I miss the days of just going. You could almost really go anywhere, and there were some comics.
Oh yeah.
I feel bad for the kids growing up now. They don't really have that. I mean, I guess things are digital, but I'll tell you what, I would love it if we could get back to the point where I could go to the pharmacy and see a spinner rack and just stop there for a second and see if there's something I missed that came out. But I definitely miss those days, man.
Oh yeah. It was so convenient. I mean, where I grew up, we had 2 grocery stores and a drugstore, and it was like super easy. If like I went to one and they didn't have whatever comic book I was looking for,
yeah,
I could hopefully find it at one of the other places. And it wasn't until I was in, I don't know, probably, I want to say like 3rd grade was when I first discovered that there was actually a comic book store.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, spent a couple of weeks begging my folks, like, can we go to this place? Can we go buy some stuff? And once I did, it was like I was instantly hooked. Had a pull list, the whole bit.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Genoa, Ohio. It's outside of Toledo area, and we had this great comic shop called Great Eastern Comics. It was probably not even 10 minutes from my folks' house, and the guys there, they treated everybody like, they were their favorite customer. Basically, it was the one gentleman that was there that ran all the poll list. He like inherently knew what you wanted to read. Like I would go in there sometimes and he would surprise me with a book and be like, "Oh, I didn't ask for this," and then I would end up loving it and get hooked on the series.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, so you got an engaged retailer.
Yes.
That's
very,
great.
very much so. Yeah. I miss that.
Yeah, I miss that too. Hey, I'm gonna just to interrupt. I'm just gonna respond because there's a little thing in the chat. So, guys, when you see that I've posted an upcoming show, it's going to say live, and you just have to notice that there is a date added to it when we're actually going to go live. So it's not showing that we are live or have a live stream going. It's just a preview of what's coming up, and I may put 2 or 3 up at a time so you guys can set reminders so you don't miss a show.
Oh, look at that. Kaboom.
There we go. Boom. All right, back to the fun and excitement.
Now, so drawing since you were 2 years old, being a fan of comics, scribbling comics, copying Joe Mad's art and stuff like that from Wizard, you end up going to Bowling Green University.
Yep.
You graduated with a degree in 2-dimensional studies. So what was it that made you decide to go to that school and for that major? And what were your plans? Like, what was your dreams?
Why I went to the school and all that kind of rolled into one was convenience was one. It was maybe like a half-hour drive from my folks' house at the time. And it was also expense. I looked at School of Visual Arts, Savannah College Art and Design, all these great schools that actually had some like comic book programs, but they were just way beyond my budget. And thankfully, I had a handful of scholarships that paid for basically like my first year at BG. So that's all that kind of stuff added up to. That's why I chose that school. That's why I went there and whatnot. And as far as picking the major, it was the closest thing to, what I could do as far as drawing. It was basically a core of drawing and painting, and I just took that stuff to try to get as much out of it as I could, because there wasn't anything very comic centered. We did end up like my last year there, we had a narrative drawing class, but a lot of it was just kind of trying to work with the instructors, professors, and whatnot, and trying to get them to kind of bend to my will and be like, yeah, I want to draw comic books. And, I'm at a fine art program, and they wanted me to do, as I usually refer to, touchy-feely stuff. And it wasn't my bag, but I did what I could to make it work.
So you wanted to do comics, right?
Yeah. I set off with that goal that I wanted to draw comics and get in the industry. And thankfully I had a couple of instructors that were on board with me and worked with me to at least as much as they could help get me in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Are you in touch with any of these guys? Any of your instructors still?
Try to. I'm not the greatest at trying to keep that stuff up. But here a couple weeks back, we went to a Star Wars Celebration, and my wife and I went to school together. That's where we met. And our painting teacher, professor, instructor, what have you, he actually had a show in Chicago where Celebration was. So we went in early, hoping to go see his show and catch up with him and whatnot. And the place was closed the day we went. Their website said they were open and everything, and we went there, all the lights were off and the doors were locked.
Oh, jeez.
It's the effort. It was the effort. Yeah, I hope you should have messaged him. Hey.
We did. We took a selfie in front of the building and shot it over to him on Facebook.
So your wife, she was an art student as well?
Yes. Yeah. She is a art educator, so she was going for art education, and but she took a lot of two-dimensional classes, so that's where we ended up meeting.
Oh, nice.
Very cool. So, okay, so as now you're not just two-dimensional now, you're multi-dimensional, that you can you could write, you could draw, you can ink, you can color. Was it the right decision to go to school? Or are you glad you went? Like, what, do you think that other people that want to get into comics, that want to draw or write, do you encourage them to go to college for that?
I would say yes, but I know it's one of those things. It's a personal thing, and I know it's not meant for everybody. That's kind of the thing that goes around a lot, especially with being around that stuff quite a bit, because that's what my wife does. It's college is not always meant for each individual person. So I guess I leave that kind of to them. I just try to give the best advice I can based on my experience. Like I said, I had to kind of push my stuff on what I was doing as far as the program. So, as long as you get that, I guess, will and, attitude of trying to make that stuff happen, that you can do it. There's obviously a number of schools that have popped up in the last handful of years that offer really great programs in, sequential art, stuff that actually deals with comics. And like Savannah College of Art and Design every year has a huge portfolio review day where they get editors from like Marvel, DC, and what have you to come in and talk to students. So, if that's what you're going for, by all means, if you can, make that push and afford that dollar sign that comes with it, go for it.
Well, you got to be careful too. There's a lot of for-profit schools, and a lot of them offer a lot of those things. And you know what? Unfortunately, the schools where they do require a portfolio and they want to see what you've done to get in. I mean, it's actually cheaper to attend that school than to attend, some of these for-profit colleges. I would like, myself personally as an artist, I would like to go back, because I think it's good, because you get introduced to other techniques that you really I'm not going to say you won't, but you might not really gear towards that on your own and say, oh, I've never done this before. Then you can incorporate it into what you're doing, your sequential art, this and that, and it might help create your own style. So I'm kind of, I'm an advocate for, if you're going to get into comics, you really should go to school for it. But natural talent, I mean, it's all the better. It's just going to make you better. But like you said, you have to have the drive, and you have to have the right mind frame and willing to do the hard work.
Oh yeah. And to add what you're saying, that's what hit me really early on in classes. Is I had took a single painting class in high school my sophomore year. Hadn't really messed with it. I was part of my major, part of the degree, so I ended up having to take a painting class, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And now I always have the itch where if I can find a way to fit in some time to paint, I want to do it. And it's something, prior to that, I just had no interest in. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different stuff you can experience and build on. And because of what I learned through taking those painting classes, that's why I do primarily coloring work now, is because I learned from somebody that really understood color theory, and he drilled that stuff into us daily.
Yeah. And I mean, I would have never started writing if it wasn't for going back to school. I mean, I never thought I was a good writer. I always had a hard time learning how to read when I was very young. And then I go back to school, and next thing you know, I'm being offered a job there in the English department for my creative writing, which was just crazy. I still have no clue how I do it. I don't know how to do anything. I just write. They're like, oh, you should help kids with that. I was like, I'd love to do it, but I can't tell you what I'm doing. I just write. And if that sounds like it should go there, I put it there. But I can't explain it, But yeah, it's awesome. What do you think, Billy?
No, absolutely. The best. I went to the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. School of Visual Arts is down the road, and my school was a State University of New York school. And I think I told this on one of the shows, but I went and I got accepted to both. And I went to School of Visual Arts. It was real artsy. Really wasn't a campus or anything like that. A lot of dudes walking around looking like me. And then I went to FIT, and they had 8 girls to every guy.
There you go.
And it's a fashion
Decision made.
Yeah, half the guys are gay, and I'm like, I'm going here because I can't go either way.
Yeah. So the mob.
If I go to this, but what I discovered though is because my girlfriend at the time she had decided to go to School of Visual Arts. Mm-hmm. I went to FIT. Because the School of Visual Arts was just too expensive. It's a private school. It's a great school. But we had all the same professors. All the same professors taught at both schools. And they also teach at Pratt, too, and Parsons in New York City. So you have all these same professors hitting all these different schools. So if you're in New York City, if you're in New York and you apply for School of Visual Arts, you apply for Pratt, you apply for Parsons, you apply for Fashion Technology, I'd go to FIT because it's a lot cheaper and you get the same education.
Yeah, that's true to say about community colleges too. If you actually like in your state or whatever and look at a community college, I started off at a community college and some of my professors were Yale professors that worked at that school at night. So I was getting a Yale professor at my community college, which was really cool.
Yeah. So look to it, parents.
Exactly. So I got to get something off my chest, Sean, because I am a huge fan of Ninja Turtles. Huge fan of Ninja Turtles. I grew up with them. It's the first thing I can remember drawing. So you've worked on IDW Turtles covers, haven't you?
I've done a couple. You guys interviewed Marat Michaels last week sometime?
Yes, last week.
Yes. Yeah, so
he was our Sweet 16.
He got me hooked up with a couple of his buddies who were doing some Turtles exclusives for San Diego the last couple of years. So I was fortunate enough, got the opportunity to color a couple of the covers. I believe it was last year and the year before. So it was my first experience doing any kind of turtle stuff. And I, like you, Nile, that was one of the first things I was drawing as a kid. That came out, and it was one of those things that I just latched onto immediately. So, being a big fan of it and getting the opportunity to work on it just kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you going to try to do any more in the future?
I'd absolutely love to. I hope the opportunity presents itself, or I can, track down the right people and try to get the opportunity. So yeah, definitely.
Now, do you think we should have Kevin Eastman on the show?
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's get the petition going.
There you go. He's a great guy. If you ever get a chance to talk to him, yeah.
That's what I hear. He's a great guy. And actually, have you heard of Ben Bishop?
That name sounds very familiar.
He does a lot of turtle stuff now and works very closely with Kevin. And I mean, his artwork is phenomenal. I have a couple commissions from him, and I mean, his turtles are. I love the way he draws the turtles.
I have a turtle drawing. If you guys want to see my turtle drawing from 1989.
Yes.
Yeah.
An old sketchbook of mine. Let me get it. Hang on.
Really?
Yeah, I just found it.
It's like traveling back in time.
Yeah, well, yeah, 1989 was like the first time I probably saw Ninja Turtles, and that's when I was drawing them.
Yeah, that's when I can remember them. I think I was
my wife's cousin Janine was big into the turtles, and she was a kid. And she's like, "Can you draw Janine a turtle?" So I started drawing it for her, and I never gave it. Oh no, I made a Xerox copy and I colored it. But I found this old sketchbook.
Oh, nice.
My last year in college, and what it has is the craziest stuff. It's me trying to draw. You know what, Sean? This is your show, so let me just show my turtle picture instead of going, "Hey, look, it's Donatello."
Is that your favorite turtle?
No, I like Leonardo with the swords.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Look at that.
Nice.
Dude, that's awesome.
Dude.
Nice.
Wow. Send me a
That's
Xerox.
anyway, but I digress.
That was actually, that's really cool.
So that is cool. That takes me back. I mean, that is like 1989, like wrapped up in one drawing.
Yeah. How old were you in 1989?
Like, let's see, 7.
Me too.
Prodigy. What was I in 89? I was 5? Yeah, I was 5.
I hate you guys.
I was 5 years old. I breastfed until 7.
Come on, Nile. Let's keep going.
All right. So, I think you should get me some turtle stuff since you have some connections, Sean. I'd appreciate that.
Try.
But what other companies have you worked for? What other things do you have under your belt?
Let's see. I've done everything from worked for Lego, Spin Master. Lately I've been doing some Upper Deck Marvel sketch cards. Done a bunch of stuff with Counterpoint Comics with Marat, doing Naughty and Nice, Do You Poo, Hardly Thin. Right, and I've also got a project lined up. I've been doing some animated character stuff for tire discounters, making some animated commercials and whatnot. So I've done a little bit of everything over the last few years.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Very cool.
Busy boy. Busy man.
Try to.
Yeah. All right. So, as someone who is penciled, inked, colored, and doing cover art, which do you prefer, and which do you find most stressful?
I love both coloring and penciling. Obviously, like I said, that's kind of like my bread and butter right now. That's what I do a lot of. And I really enjoy it because I can usually do it quick, and it gives me the opportunity to work with a lot of different individuals. Yeah. I love penciling. Like right before we jumped on and started doing this show, I was working on a cover for Naughty and Nice. So I love getting the opportunity to pencil covers when I get the opportunity there. And as far as like most stressful, most pain in the ass thing to do is usually trying to come up with like page layouts. It's trying to figure out the right angle to tell the story and make sure everything's in there and it's clear, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's all still drawing in some way, shape, or form for me. So I still get a kick out of all of it.
How long does a cover take you to illustrate? But illustrate. Usually,
probably about a day, maybe 2 days, to go from pencils, inks, and colors all the way to the end. It kind of depends on what the subject is and stuff, but usually about a day and a half for pencils and inks, and then I'll throw colors on. Colors usually only take me a couple hours, so.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah, that's usually the quick part. So.
Mm-hmm. And what software are you using to color?
Photoshop.
Photoshop.
Yep.
Awesome.
Well, like I said, we've known each other for a long time. I think you're fantastic.
I appreciate that.
Marat had great things to say about you.
Yeah.
We're happy you're here. But now let's get to why you are here. Let's talk Scarlet Huntress. What made you decide to venture out and start your own gosh darn comic, you crazy bastard, you?
So the whole thing came about almost by accident. It was just a pure happenstance. I was working for a publisher that was based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. I was doing some like trading cards for them, I think, at the time. And they said, "Oh, we're gonna put out this anthology comic. Do you want to do like a short 5-page story in the book?" Sure. I like this was like right after I was out of college. I was trying to figure out how to break in the industry. It's like I need a comic. I need portfolio material. Yes, I'm going to take this opportunity. So I called up Steph, who we were dating at the time. I had moved back home, and she was living in Columbus area. So I called her up and I said, "Hey, I've got this opportunity. Would you be up for helping me come up with a story?" And for whatever reason, we both stumbled upon the idea of doing something based around Little Red Riding Hood. And over a couple of phone calls, a couple of emails, we developed a quick little story for it. And I sent it off to the publisher. He liked it. So I went to town drawing the thing. It was published, and I got the books. I was at Motor City Comic Con. It was the first Comic Con I was set up at. It was, I believe, the spring show in 2004. And I went in, I was setting up my table, and I literally had to go meet the publisher at the front door to buy like my copies of the books to sell so he could get into the show to deliver the books to me. And it was the only comic I had sitting on the table and all this stuff. And just got a huge kick out of it because, you know, people were like, "Ooh, we got to check this out," you know, whatever. And the publisher came back to me a couple months later and said, "Hey, do you want to do a crossover story with our character?" And they hired Chad Lambert to write it, and so it was my first time getting introduced to Chad, and we've got to know each other over the years because he's another fellow Ohioan. And so after we did these 2 short stories, the publisher gave me the opportunity to do a single one-shot story, and so we again jumped at the chance to do it, and there was some problems that they had on their end. So like after a year and a half, 2 years went by, Steph and I decided to self-publish it because it was just literally sitting there doing nothing. And so 2006, we put out the first full issue on our own. We had moved back to Ohio. We were back in Columbus. We did Mid-Ohio Con for the first time, and that's where we debuted the first full issue of the book and the character and whatnot. And just from there, it just kind of like, you know, we slowly built up a fan base for it, and we kept getting asked, "When are you going to do another one? When are you going to do another one?" And it was always like, well, I got to do it as, you know, I got to fit it in between doing all this stuff that's actually paying my bills. So it's a little tricky, you know?
Yeah.
And so 2009 rolls around, and that Jalen Warner guy that I mentioned earlier, we got our first chance to go out to San Diego Comic-Con and set up in small press. And it was like, well, I better do another issue of this thing if we're going to go out and do this. Like, you know, we're going to the Super Bowl, got to have something there.
Yeah.
And so Steph and I sat down and came up with a story. We did a continuation of this thing. We built off of what we had, and we did the second issue. I even I hired a cosplayer to do some photo shoots, to do some alternate covers. Like, I had a buddy do an alternate cover, the whole works. And it was like, okay, you know, we went out there, we sold it, we did our thing, and then we jumped on. We did Scarlet's Field Guide to Cryptids, which was her like personal journal where she was keeping track of all the creatures she would come across. And I got all of like my local buddies to do a piece of art based on various cryptid creatures and whatnot. And we put this whole thing together and made it look like her collection of like eyewitness accounts of seeing, like, you know, Bigfoot and swamp monster and all this crazy stuff. And then Steph did a children's book. We took the original Little Red Riding Hood story and we made it fit our mythology for the character, so it fits in our timeline and all this kind of stuff. And she did this nice little square children's book. We tried to make it look like the old school like golden books, but it's a very kind of twisted tale of Little Red Riding Hood. And so we get all that stuff done, and I think that takes us up to about like 2010, 2011. And then we heard about this Kickstarter thing. It was like, we should give that a try. And so we did. So I think we launched it in 2011 or 2012. I can't remember which off the top of my head. And that was our first experience crowdfunding. And we actually funded another issue of Scarlet Huntress. And because we did all the crowdfunding and whatnot, it was the first time we actually got to do a full color book. So I actually got to do pencils, inks, colors, do the whole thing. And we got this book, we printed it, and we went crazy, and we did the whole overseas printing and all that mess. And we still got copies of those laying around to fulfill this Kickstarter.
So how do you feel though, right? When the first time you saw it, here's your creation in a comic book, right?
Yeah.
There are people that come in that want to publish their own books. They want to get into it themselves, or they have done some themselves. They've done Kickstarters, Indiegogos, the like, and but right, that feeling when you first see, because I remember it like it was yesterday when first time I saw my book,
Oh yeah.
I mean, what was it like for you?
It was great. It was really cool. The coolest thing about it was like after we got like the first couple of anthology books, I knew we were doing the full first issue thing. I immediately jumped on trying to come up with a cover, come up with like a piece of promo art for the thing. And as soon as I got it done, we printed it off, and it was our first year doing Wizard World Chicago. And we went out and it was like literally went to like the local copy shop and had like a 24 by 36 printout of the piece of promo art.
Yeah.
And we got this really cheap easel, and we took it and we set it up at the con because we still didn't have any clue what we were doing with this stuff. And we set up at the con, and I actually had it was Vince Hernandez from Aspen Comics walked by, and he actually took notice of the character and asked, "Hey, is that yours?" And that right there is what you're talking about, where it's like this kind of blew my mind. It's like, wow, somebody actually paid attention to something I did, and it was somebody that I admired. I looked up to him, and that just really sunk in, and just it clicked.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, she's a fantastic looking character. I'm sorry now.
No, go ahead. Please continue.
So now, do we have a video or something that we could post?
Yeah, what I want to do is I want to take it over to our desk tab view, and want to actually get his project up. Now, I spoke with Sean earlier today. His Kickstarter is successful. They've gone. Sean, how are these lovely patrons here and fans of the comic universe able to get copies of this book if they're interested?
So right now, since we're still working on it and whatnot, and if you didn't get a chance to back the Kickstarter, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a link on my site, which is just SeanForney.com, and we're going to set up a store where you'd be able to like pre-order it. We're going to have that set up probably in the next couple of weeks. Right now, we're still trying to take care of everybody that backed the project and do like the add-ons and that kind of mess. So that's going to be a little private just for the backers for right now. But as soon as we're ready, we will launch that. We'll have the store set up on my website, and you'll be able to go click, buy it, whatever. And then also conventions. As soon as the book is ready, printed, and I have them in hand, any convention you see me at in the next year or so, I will more than likely have copies of these.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to play the video so everyone can get an idea of this wonderful story.
Hey guys, it's Steph Forney. I am here to tell you a little bit about Scarlet Huntress Adventures. It is our new Kickstarter. We're very excited to finally bring you another book. It's going to be 3 short stories.
Freaking awesome,
Scarlet
bro.
Goes to Comic-Con, Scarlet Goes to the Gremlins,
like I
and
said,
Scarlet and the Amulet.
Something that hit us, it struck at the
Scarlet
right time. We came up with
Comic-Con
it,
is
and
about Scarlet winding up at Comic-Con, thinking there's werewolves,
just
and what is she
wanted
going
to
to
come up with
find,
that
and
idea of
it's fun and adventurous.
the mantle of the
she may or
Huntress
may
being
not find
passed
a real
down in
werewolf.
each version.
And then
Little Red
Scarlet
Riding
versus
Hood's
the
the original.
Gremlins, she's
It gets
gonna
passed
be
down
out
kind of
in
like
Dayton,
the Phantom.
Wright Pat Air Force Base, and she's gonna find herself wound
hot
up with
man.
some other cryptids,
Yes.
and she thinks she's gonna
So
battle
I don't know
werewolves,
when
and
the sound
instead
kicks
she
in, if
finds
it will
these
kick in or
gremlins.
whatever. But Steph actually did
Scarlet
like a
and the
narration
Amulet
bit
is
for this whole
about
thing.
Scarlet finding some
I
answers.
I
We're
haven't watched the
picking
video
up
since like we
where
first
Search
did
for
it, so I
Answers
don't know
left
when
off,
and if it kicks in
where
here.
Vincent left
Yeah,
her
it
the
kicks
dagger
in.
and the note.
Okay.
And so she's trying to do a little history on this dagger and figure out where it came from. And she
Yeah, so
winds
it's
up in
mostly
the middle of
mostly
a
me
theft
working
ring that's
on
tied to the werewolves.
some of
and she's
the
got
pages
to
and whatnot.
not only fight her way out of it,
Yeah.
but she's got to figure out
Reprints
what
of
all
the
this
earlier
means.
issues.
And that's where
The
she
werewolf
finds the
cover
amulet,
that was
and
there.
we'll see
Who
where that
drew
takes
that?
her, because
Yeah,
it's
that
a
was
very
me.
exciting place.
Okay.
It's an homage to Mark Bagley's Venom
Scarlet
cover.
Huntress Adventures is
Yes.
going to bring you
I love Mark
at least
Bagley.
28 pages
Yes,
of
I love
color
his
comic.
work.
We're going to have multiple covers. And
It
multiple
just seemed
types of
appropriate. I
covers,
saw that Venom
so
cover
make
when I
sure
was
you
trying to
look at
figure
all
out
the
what to do
different
for
award
reprints. I'm like,
packages.
yeah,
Find one
I
that
gotta
suits your
figure out something
needs.
to do
There's
here.
going to be 6 by
Mom
9
keeps telling
prints.
us to shh.
There's some original art that we've got for sale.
Hey, we're
that's never been
fans,
for
man.
sale before.
Hey, he's
And
telling us
those
about
will
his
come with color
product.
prints if there's
Yeah,
one
we're comic
available.
fans.
And then we're going to work our way hopefully towards some stretch goals. And the stretch goals are where we're going to bring in some of our friend artists, and they're doing some amazing work. We can't wait for you to see it. There's a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipeline. We'll keep releasing stuff every day during the Kickstarter. We're going to run it from March 21st at noon through April 29th.
Okay.
It's the day after Gem City Con. So stay with us, stay tuned, watch for those stretch goals. We've got stickers, bookmarks, trading cards, more pages, more art, more prints, more stuff coming at you. So thank you for following us for the last 15 years. We're very excited to bring you another Scarlet Huntress book in the series, and we hope you back Scarlet Huntress Adventures. Thanks.
So, Sean, I mean, what is it? We all love our wives. They're our best friends.
Hey guys, it's Sean Forney. I am here to tell you a little bit about Scarlet Huntress Adventures.
Oh, we love our wives.
Yeah. So, I mean, what is it? So, you guys are obviously a creative team. You've developed this character. What's it like working with your wife, creating these stories, and developing Scarlet Huntress?
It's great. I mean, like you said, it's that best friend thing, and you know, it's nice to be able to sit down and have somebody that's, you know, close by that you can, you know, bounce ideas off of, and you know, we've gotten, you know, 15 years of experience of working on this thing, so we know the character, we know what we want to do, so it's very easy to sit down and go, okay, let's do this, and then we can, you know, look back at it and go, yeah, maybe we need to tweak this, tweak that. And that's kind of what we've been doing with this new book, is, you know, trying to hash out and make sure the story flows, because we hit all of our stretch goals and whatnot, so we ended up adding some pages to the book. So I sat there and I was working on some of the roughs even earlier today. I'm like, you know what, we've got extra pages we can play with. I can actually stretch this out, and you know, I want to make it look as good as possible. So when I get the opportunity to add some pages to add a little bit more to the story and really flesh it out, it's like, you know, I can sit there and say, hey, let's see if we can stretch this out. And it's like, okay, yeah, because I wanted to make it larger, but we just didn't have room to do it. So it's, you know, those kind of things work out great.
Now, when you guys are creating, so you guys are sitting down, you're coming up with stories. Now, do you sit there and sketch your ideas first, or do you write it first, and then you go from the writing and start paneling and roughing everything?
We usually do a bit of both. So like in one of these stories, we were on the way to an event with friends. I can't remember what it was, but we had like a good 2-hour drive on our hands, and so we sat there and we hashed out one of the stories. Sat there and I just wrote down a bunch of little notes, and occasionally I'll do some little sketches. But Steph usually primarily writes a lot of stuff based on me, you know, saying a bunch of gibberish of, you know, we should do this, do that. But because we're both artists, she sits there and usually sketches out the story first, and then goes back in and kind of fills all the stuff in. And I do the same thing. I will usually go through, do like a bunch of scribbles and, you know, little thumbnail sketches, and then go back in and be like, okay, here's what's really going on in this panel, and, you know, try to get it to make sense. And then we just kind of build off, flesh out, and, you know, chisel away at it till we've got what we want.
Yeah. Now, most important question, do you make sound effects when you draw?
Yeah, on occasion.
Yeah.
It usually comes with, I can't figure out how to do this pose, and then I gotta stand there and act the thing out. And yeah, those do come out at times. You know, it's like, you know,
I make a lot of sound effects when I draw.
I think that's a show.
We like your style, right?
Sound effects, and get our friends on and ask them questions. Okay, so Sean, now that you've had a couple of really hugely successful Kickstarters, and now especially with the latest one, have you considered doing an Indiegogo? Now, because what I've learned is that there are people that will only buy Kickstarter, and there are people that only buy Indiegogo for various reasons. But I got to tell you, we did Zombie Sama. We did our first campaign for, I think, 28 days, and we raised $32,202 for Zombie Sama. We did a 2-week Kickstarter campaign, a 2-week Indiegogo campaign, and we raised almost $35,000.
Yeah, because of that, because I watched you and I saw one of your, I don't know if it was a crowdfunding or maybe just one of your Facebook Lives. But yeah, that did open my eyes to that idea, because I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
it is something I've got floating around in the back of my head. I don't know that I would jump on and do that right now, even as tempting as it does sound. After just spending 30 plus days working on this one, I'm not sure I want to jump in and do it again. But that might be something, because this is something we want to continue. We want to get the story wrapped up. And we do want to launch another one of these hopefully next year if time permits. So that is something that, like I said, is floating around in the back of my head, and it's like, can we get this out to the widest audience possible, basically?
Yeah. Well, friends out there on YouTube right now, just a couple of things. First of all, I've known Sean for a long time. We've had a lot of conversations about a lot of things, and he's one of the good guys, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway.
Thank you.
But what about a stopgap that you could take all the work you have now done already, right? And do an Indiegogo edition for, say, July or August or something like that. Maybe after the big cons, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just have it specifically for the Indiegogo people. Have a variant cover on a special cover, because you have new fans from the latest Kickstarter campaign.
Yep.
And maybe you can grab them on too, and you have a special cover on it, and you have a nice big, you know what I mean? And then you could also sell the older, if you have extra copies of the older issues, you could sell, make those as various levels too.
Yeah. And no, it's a great idea.
And don't wait. If I was you, especially now that you're hot on the campaign, you deliver that book. People get that book, and then all of a sudden, once that book's in people's hands, be it in May, June, July, whenever, you say, oh, and guess what, everybody out there on social media, next week we're launching our Indiegogo mini omnibus edition or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
straight paperback. You know what I mean? Collecting all the greatest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From years, and you can have then sketches from 2004. You know what I mean? You can have, characters, designs, and you can chalk all that stuff you've already done and give a lot of the people who aren't familiar with it. Do you know what I mean? You get a chance to get it. And I'm going to talk to you about that in San Diego. Make sure you're doing it.
All right. I will take you up on that.
All right. So, considering that you've done these crowdfunding, you've done your Kickstarters, what advice can you give the people out there watching that you've done right? What advice can you give them that you did it right and you will do it every time?
The one thing that I feel like I did right after learning from the first two and not putting enough research into it is do a ton of research. And to be 100% honest, Billy, I looked at a lot of stuff you've done recently. I took advice from Morant and how he does his stuff, and his biggest bit of advice was look at Brian Polito.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. Steph and I sat down, and I'm not joking. It's been about the last year, almost year and a half. We researched how all you guys were doing your crowdfunding. We looked at what do we got to do to hit these price points and get people interested, and the one thing that we tried to do was do like the big social media buildup, like posting daily images, all this kind of stuff. And through all the research, we found all the stuff we wanted to do. Found out the packages to offer, the stretch goals, things like that, things that everybody seemed to be interested in. We compiled a huge list, and then we just kind of whittled down to make sure everything fit with what we wanted to do and what we thought we could actually do. And it worked out very well. It really did exceed our expectations when it finally closed up last week, and it was like, okay, we did this, we did this right. And our first two Kickstarters were we funded everything, we got everything produced, we put it out there, but we really didn't make like a profit. There wasn't anything that we really got out of it other than just getting the material in people's hands. And this time we figured out a way, like, it's not a spectacular profit or anything like that, but at least we did come out ahead. We finally figured out a lot of our stuff to make sure everything fit, worked. We could do this stuff without basically killing ourselves for nothing.
Yeah. Well, I also think that again, we also think everyone should know comics is a business. This is a business.
Yeah.
And even if you're doing it part-time, make it a part-time business.
Yeah, exactly.
So the thing is to have that business mentality. And again, you do a collected edition, then that's going to be a huge profit margin for you. far
Yes.
greater because you don't have to worry about all you have the color and mostly it's time, all the time you put in. Because what kind of price can you put on your time?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You should benefit from that because again, guys, have this business mentality. We are all artists. You know, we're all writers. We're all creative people. But there's nothing wrong with a creative person being able to pay his bills. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
And this is and to deliver your art, and you're going directly to the fans out there and to the consumers, and they're putting their faith in you, and they believe in your art, and that's a great reward.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah.
you know, and you know what, the Indiegogo customers and Indiegogo partners, you know, they deserve some Sean Forney too, buddy.
I'm gonna do my best to make that happen.
Yeah, well, and now Nile's favorite part. Well, not his favorite
Not
part.
my favorite part, but I mean, there has to be some mistakes you've made.
Yes, the part that everyone should know about, right, Nile? That you are the left brained the left brain creative of us. I guess I'm the right brain, blah, 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 blah. And you're a little more, and you're always like, well, what mistakes, right? So, good.
So what did you F up?
What?
Okay. So like I said, the first 2 Kickstarters we did, it was we funded it, we were able to pay for all of our stuff, but we lost our butts on shipping. Because it took so long for me to produce the artwork, to get it out, shipping prices changed. So I'm trying my best to remedy that and make sure that this one goes out on time, goes out before the end of the year, so shipping prices don't go up on me. So that was our big mistake on the first 2. On this one, I can't really say it was necessarily a mistake, but like I said, this did exceed our expectations. So we hit all these stretch goals. We added in all these stretch goals, and there's a couple stretch goals that, we said, oh, every $500 we'll, make sure you get one of these in your package. A couple of them went over that $500 budget, but there was a couple of $500 things that, we weren't spending that. So it's like it evened out.
Yeah.
So it's, again, things to look forward to in the future of, how do we correct this? How do we, make this work to our favor a little bit better? The only thing I would say that the other mistake I made on this is I don't think I spent enough time like building the hype, like I was talking about, of like trying to get stuff out there daily and get people to take notice of it. Just because it came up on me so quick. It's, it was like, bam, bam, bam. Oh, geez, we've only got like 3 weeks before this thing launches. We got to go. We got to, get the word out and start pushing this thing. So it's, it's always these things that we try to learn from and, make sure we do better the next go around.
More lead time and hype up more.
Yep.
What, Nile, if I may ask this, because I keep asking our questions. What are some of the things you would never do again?
So we didn't do it on this one, because we learned from our previous ones. Don't try to ship anything like oversized from the book. So like we made sure everything fits in a comic book mailer. So if you got prints, they fit in that mailer because again, shipping killed us. Trying to send out a comic book with an 11, pack of 11 by 17 prints weighs too much. The shipping gets ridiculous. So we learned, don't do that. If we're going to do prints, that's its own package, its own shipping rate. It goes out on its own. If you want a book, you add that on at some point in time. So don't do that. We made the mistake one time of did calendars because my second Kickstarter was for a pinup art thing, and so I was like, oh, let's do a calendar as a stretch goal. That was a bad idea too. This got a little expensive.
Yeah.
And t-shirts. Those were another thing that we found. It was just kind of a pain to get out there and get shipped and everything. So it's like, again, if we want to do t-shirts, that might be something that, it's its own package. And, you want the other stuff, you add that on somehow later.
Excellent.
All right, so we've got some viewer questions I'd like to get into. So Matthew Mullen asks, how long does it take to finish a story for a single issue? So I would say this book is a part-time passion, because you obviously have to pay the bills. So from start to finish, how long does each issue take you guys?
The previous ones have taken 5 years in between each issue. Even the last Kickstarter and this one has been like 5 years. But this one hopefully get wrapped up by the end of the year. Hopefully do another one next year. Again, we learned on how to try to make this like profitable. I don't think is the best word to say, but make it to where like Billy was talking about, compensate my time basically.
Yeah.
So we're trying to
fund the next book.
Yeah, it's trying to make sure that the next one's within a year or under if we can do it.
All right, and then the Mob Seat asks, how self-contained is the latest issue for new readers?
Very self-contained. Two of the stories that are in it, because it's 3 short stories. 2 of them, one and done story basically. The third story, it would be helpful if you read the previous stuff because it kind of builds on that. But I still feel it's self-contained. We're trying to make it to where it is like the old classic one and done comics. That's stuff I remember growing up on. It's the stuff I like to see.
They're the best. Yep.
Yeah. So try to make it to where it's reader friendly to new and old fans.
All right, and then TJ James asks, have you had any interest in taking the character into other media?
Oh, absolutely. It's
what other media would you love to see your character in?
I'd love to see something like, obviously a movie, a Netflix series, something along those lines. And that's a buddy and I usually joke about every year with doing San Diego. It's the Super Bowl. It's for him. It's always going out and trying to push his property and trying to get get the movie deal. And I would love to do that. Now I feel like I'm trying to get some traction with getting this book out there and getting in front of people. I'd love to see something like that happen. I think something like the limited series type thing would probably work best to really flesh out the story and get the whole thing instead of trying to cram it into an hour or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, anybody watching, if you got those hookups, there you go.
There you go.
There you are. It's all set. Now, the Mob Seat actually has 2 other questions that I want to, because actually in the beginning of the show when we were talking about drawing and stuff like that, he asked, do you draw digitally?
I do from time to time. I don't usually do like pencils and inks full digital. I will usually pencil something rough digitally, print it out on board, and then go back in and fine tune it traditionally. I just feel more comfortable that way.
Okay. And then the last thing he asks is, how about perks, including previous issues?
Yeah, we did do that with this Kickstarter where if you backed it at certain levels, you could get the entire story, both in print and digital. And if we go forward and do say like the Indiegogo or something, that will be an option there too. You can get all the previous issues. That'll be some sort of new printing of it, and then the new book, and then again we'll make it available digitally.
Okay. Now let me ask, since you have digital copies, can they find or purchase this book on apps such as Comixology or anything like that?
The last Kickstarter book is available on Comixology, but we have the entire series available on DriveThru Comics, drivethrucomics.com. You can go there, and I think each book's like a couple bucks, something like that. You can pick up the whole thing.
All right, excellent. So we'll add a link to DriveThru Comics in the description of the show. So if you guys want to get digital copies there, you sure can. And all the proceeds go to Crowdfunding Comics.
He snuck that in there, didn't
Yes,
he?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I'm snaky. I'm snaky, sir.
That bugger.
I'm very sneaky, sir. All right, should we get to some fun questions, Billy?
Yeah, let's have some fun. I mean, we're already
over what we like to do, right? Why not?
As I said, Sean, as I was telling you before we went on the air, we go on longer than we're supposed to. Our goal is supposed to be 45 minutes, and we've never hit that. And we've never hit an hour either. I mean, we've gone over the hour too. So we're trying to, to make this shorter, but we have fun. So,
I think we're stuck at the hour and a half mark, Billy.
yeah, I know, Sean, but you got to be like, all right, guys, I got to go. All right.
I'm good. I'm entertained right now, so we can keep going.
You want to fire away, my friend?
So first things first. I mean, what's in store? What do we have in the future for Sean Forney? Do we have other Kickstarters coming up, other projects that you want to promote? What cool things are coming up in the future for you, sir?
So like I already mentioned, we're going to hopefully do another Scarlet Huntress Kickstarter sometime next year. I'm currently working on a webcomic called Delta Dawn. It's through a company called Corgi Press. So that's out. You can go look at it. It comes out twice a week. Can read it from, I think it's just corgipress.com. And I already mentioned I'm working on a Naughty and Nice cover for Marat for I believe it's issue 6 that's coming out shortly.
Mm-hmm.
I also did some work on his recent Kickstarter, the Naughty and Nice zombie thing that just came out. I did some work on that. That's available. There is a Kickstarter that's currently running, and I'm going to butcher the name of it. It's Book of Laxia. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I colored one of the covers, and it looks like I might be doing some additional work for them. And I've still got some Marvel sketch cards that are supposed to be coming out pretty soon. I did some work on the Marvel Cinematic Universe 10th anniversary, and those are, if they're not out already, they should be coming out within the month. So all that stuff will be out and available and whatnot. And the rest of it, I know I've got a handful of conventions for the rest of the year, and we'll see what all happens.
What's your next convention? What's the next one coming up?
I've got Colossal Con, which is in Sandusky, Ohio, which is actually it's more geared towards anime, but I get invited every year, and it's at a water park, so it's an all-out drink fest and cosplayers running around in bikinis. So it's right up Billy's alley.
Okay.
And then San Diego Comic-Con, and then I got a nice break until Baltimore Comic-Con.
Excellent. Well, we'll see you in the pool, my friend, as we.
Oh yes, yes.
Billy.
I see Sean. The day it's usually Wednesday morning, right? Wednesday afternoon.
Yep.
We find the Forneys and the Warners by the pool, and we hang out. We have a great time, and that's our day to relax for the whole show. And then it kicks in. It kicks in Wednesday around. Well, the show starts officially at 5, I think 5:30, but come 3:30, there seems to be a ton of people in there.
Oh yeah.
4 o'clock. So, and then definitely Baltimore as well. And you have to come out for our crowdfunding comics little mini con we're going to have outside the Hyatt bar.
Ooh,
on the second
okay.
floor, Hyatt Hotel.
Baltimore.
Nice.
Baltimore.
Nice. All right, I will be there.
I think we should call it Scotch Con.
Scotch Con, yeah.
Scotch and Cigar Con.
Nice.
So,
Billy, I propose a challenge while we're live here.
yes.
Random, fun question from Billy Tucci to Sean. Go.
Right now.
Right now, random fun question. Something right off the top of your head.
Have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
No.
He's laughing.
Okay. All right. Who is the best Spider-Man, television and motion picture wise?
I got to go with Tom Holland.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I agree with you.
I agree.
I agree with you.
I agree.
Awesome.
Now, why did you hate Avengers?
What's that?
Why did you hate the latest Avengers movie?
I hated it. Is
Yeah,
that what
you
you're
told me you
saying?
saw it twice. So why did you hate it?
I loved it. It had every fanboy moment you could wish for in a movie. I mean, I don't want to put any spoilers out there. I know it's okay to do the spoilers, but I feel like it should still refrain from that. But like, I know some people would refer to it as fan service, but we've all been watching these movies for like the last 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's made for the fans. It hit $2 billion in 11 days or something like that.
Yeah.
It's made for the fans. The fans
crazy.
are the ones going to see it.
Number 2 all time.
Yeah.
Yes, and shortly be number 1 because Avatar really just bothered me. Beautiful to look at. It's just bothering. I was just bothered by it.
The sequel comes out soon.
Yeah, I know.
We'll see, right?
No, I thought it was going to change my life. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I've seen the movie before. Also, you guys out there who are watching Crowdfunding Comics, we will have Scotch Con. Join us. Bring your own whiskey, your own cigars. The Hyatt Hotel, 2nd floor. You go to where the Ringo Awards are. You walk past the Ringo Awards. There's a little balcony outside on the 2nd floor of the Hyatt Hotel. We'll all be out there around 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we're going to go live.
And we're going to go live.
We're going to go live. We're going to do a live show. We're going to have cameras set up on tripods. We're going to have drones, cameras. It's going to be insane.
Sean, another thing. Why were you so upset that Marissa Tomei ended up being Aunt May, and except for that kindly old lady from the Titanic who played it before. Why did that bother you? Why do you hate Marissa Tomei? Ugly. Why?
I got nothing. I don't know. I don't know. She's gonna hook up with Happy apparently. I'm jealous. That's what it is.
God bless. So, what? Mysterio in the film. Seeing the trailer, is he supposed to be a good guy and then becomes a bad guy?
You know, I've been
bad guy, but what's the deal? I mean, Nick Fury introduces him to him, right?
Yeah, and he's the hero from the multiverse.
Right.
I'm curious if that multiverse thing's going to be a ploy, and he's really just going to be the villain we all know he is. But
okay.
I don't know.
I think they're leading people on because they're saying he's the other hero in the film.
Yeah. Well, how many times in the last few trailers have they done all this stuff to throw us off? I mean, in all the Endgame trailers, we had skinny Thor with the shaved head, and we didn't get skinny Thor with the shaved head.
No. Spoiler. We got happy fat Thor.
We got Sean Thor.
Well, thanks.
All right, Sean. Most important question of the night.
Most important. Here we go.
Most important. Do you believe in ghosts, UFOs, or Bigfoot?
Yes.
Have you ever had an experience?
I swear at some point in time, in my apartment in Bowling Green that I did see a ghost, but
really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell us about ghosts. Tell us.
Walked out into now mind you, we moved in. It was a brand new apartment. We were the first tenants in it, but in the middle of the night, I think one of my buddies was coming back from who knows what kind of debauchery or whatever, and walk out into the living room, and I swear to God that there was somebody sitting in the chair in the living room. Flipped on the lights because I scared the crap out of myself, and there was nobody there, nobody else in the apartment, and no clue. So I'm gonna go with it was a ghost. I don't know.
It's a ghost. I feel it.
Have you ever seen a UFO?
I want to say that I did. When I was in high school, some buddies and I, we would get off of work late at night, and then we would go out and go see a movie or something, and we'd get back, and so we would all park at the McDonald's that was in town, and we would just take one car, but we'd leave everybody else's there. So we got back. We were all getting into our cars. We were standing there having a conversation and whatnot, and this giant blue light goes flying over top of our heads. Like it felt like
cool.
it just cleared the roof of the McDonald's. And we sat there. Our mouths were hanging open. We were freaked out, and none of us wanted to drive back home. And we all lived like less than 5 miles from the place, but we were so scared out of our wits. It was like, I don't know what to do. And it was like, I don't know. I don't know what I saw. All I know was a big giant blue light that came blazing through the sky.
Wow, we've never had anything like that.
No.
Now, what about how about a Bigfoot?
And that I can say I've never seen anything, but if people are always finding supposed evidence and always claiming that they're seeing them, there's got to be something to it. Whether it's it's really what they're seeing or something. There's something that accounts for all this stuff that people.
Yeah.
I believe in the first two, but not that. Okay, so Sean, what? Maybe you just answered it, but what is the scariest thing to ever happen to you?
Now that, like I said, the UFO thing that was pretty scary.
Yeah.
No, actually, probably the scariest thing that I kind of try to push out of my head. I was a kid. I was in Boy Scouts. We went on this, Boy Scout weekend camp thing, and we went down to Hocking Hills, which is some sort of like national park or whatever in Ohio, or state park, whatever. And a group of us decided to go out and just start wandering in the woods. And didn't tell anybody where we were going. No, none of the scout leaders or any of the adults there knew what we were doing. We just decided to wander off, and we found like a little natural pool of some sort. It was these big boulders, and there was like a little like spring or something in there. And I I got a little bit too close, slipped on the rocks because they were covered in moss and stuff, fell in the water, and did not have a way out other than a buddy was actually able to like pin himself against one of these boulders and whatnot and help me actually climb out of the thing. And
Oh wow.
yeah, so it was, that was not a pleasant experience. And then that was day one of the trip. We still had like 3 more days to go.
So what is the coolest comic book convention story you have? The coolest thing ever to happen to you at a comic convention, or fun, most fun, or something like that?
So a handful of years ago at Motor City Comic Con, we're standing at the bar. Steph and I are there, and several of our other fellow, con goers and whatnot. We're all hanging out at the bar. We go up and we want to get a drink, and there's a little bit of a line at the bar to get a drink. And I see a guy kind of out of the corner of my eye walks up, and he just kind of leans in and he goes, "Jesus, is this the line for the bar?" And yeah. And I look over and realize it's Eric Estrada.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I don't know. We kind of made some small talk or whatever. And he's like, "I just want to go get a drink and go back to my room." So I'm like, "Well, we're like next in line. What do you want? We'll just grab it and you can go back to your room." And he's like, "No, you don't have to do that." I'm like, "Oh, dude, it's a drink. You just want to leave. We're next. You're going to be standing here for hours." So he kind of like butts up ahead of us, goes up to the bartender, lets us order the drinks, and pays for our drinks. Now, mind you, it wasn't just like Steph and I. It was our whole group. There was probably like a dozen drinks we were going up there and grabbing at the time. He just put it all on his room and went back to his room. And then he actually came over and hung out with us and our friend Connie, the Comic-Con mom. She was just in awe of him. And so she got a bunch of photos with him and all this stuff. And it was just a fun, crazy experience. Like,
That's awesome.
The only place that's going to happen is a Comic-Con.
Yeah. So I think, Sean, I met him at that same con at Motor City, and he was walking around, and he showed up at my table.
Yeah, he was a super nice guy. And
holy crap. And I'm like, "Dude, I think that's awesome. You're a sheriff. You're a sheriff deputy." He's like, "Yeah, I really love it. And, that was always my dream, to do that." And we just started talking. We started talking about guns and what he liked to carry and everything like that. And, it was fun guy.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And he's a bona fide sheriff's deputy,
That's awesome.
Training and everything like that. And, good guy. So,
nice.
So my friend, listen, we want people now for your Kickstarter, I know it ended. If they go to your store, can they still order some of those levels at all?
We are working on getting that stuff set up. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll have that all there for everybody.
Can you please let us know when you do? Because then
yes.
Nile, right? We can do the crowdfunding call out for Sean's store.
Oh yeah, we could totally do that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Yeah. As soon as we got the stuff up and running, I'll let you guys know. And I appreciate you guys getting the word out for me.
Yeah. And speaking of crowdfunding call outs, Sean has one for us tonight. He did mention it earlier, but it's the Book of Liaxia. Did I say that right, Sean?
As far as I know, that's how you pronounce it.
All right, cool. So I'm going to play the video so everyone gets the thing into it. And then, Sean, if you want to give some words after the video about the project. The viewers will hear it, so we will be quiet in the theater mob seat. Here we go. Awesome. All right, Sean. So we'll give us a little. So what is your involvement in this Kickstarter?
So one of the covers that was on there, it was kind of like the two main characters riding these creatures. with the like starburst in the background. I colored the cover. It's the image there that you've got up on the right hand side there, like all the starbursts. And
This right here.
Yeah. So I colored that.
Oh, excellent.
Shortly after I got my Kickstarter up and going, the creator of this book, Aaron, he got in touch with me and asked me about, he's just kind of asking some general like Kickstarter questions and convention stuff. As the conversation got rolling, he asked me about coloring this cover for him, and so I jumped on the opportunity to do it. And he's here recently, and I hope I'm okay to mention this. He's had me do like a couple of sample pages and whatnot for some of the interior stuff. So possibly might be doing some more stuff with him down the road here. I don't know if it'll be for this issue 2 or if it'll be for future stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're just kind of getting the ball rolling on the whole thing. But it seems like a really cool book. It's based on some different mythologies and whatnot, and I'm always a nut for that kind of stuff. So, it's a neat opportunity. Some stuff I'm intrigued by. So, great to have the opportunity to work on it and trying to help get the word out there on the thing so that hopefully it's successful. So hopefully it will be some stuff I'll get to work on down the road here.
Awesome. All right, so guys, we'll have this link again to this Kickstarter. So this is Sean's crowdfunding call out for Monday, May 6th, Book of Laxia #2, Seas of Change. So check it out. Go in. If you can back it. That'd be great. This book looks very interesting. And I like his style's so it kind of has like an anime style to it.
Yeah, he's got some nice mix. And I'm blanking
it's like a hybrid.
Yeah, I'm blanking on the name of the interior artist, but I know he got Ollie Garza to do one of the covers, and I want to say Colette Turner did one of the other covers.
Very cool.
So he's got some some named people on the cover art and whatnot, and the interiors look really nice. So I'm hoping that thing's very successful for him. It looks really good.
Yeah, it does. All right, Billy, my friend Sean, we've had a wonderful night. This has been a pleasure, Sean. We'd love to have you on again. Once you get your store up and running, let us know. We'll definitely do a call out for it. Get the link up. We'll peruse the store, do a little window shopping maybe, and
awesome.
We'd love to have it on. Billy, anything? Any last words, my friend?
No, just Sean. Before you share your Instagram, your Facebook, your Twitter handles, and all, I'm trying to put together a San Diego Comic-Con, crowdfunding comics video, and maybe we can even do poolside, if you will. Ooh. We'd love to have you on and come live from the con.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on and getting to chat about all this stuff. It's been a blast. It's always a pleasure to hang out and talk all this shop and whatnot. And yeah, definitely do something poolside or at the con, whatever, maybe both. And then do some follow up there at ScotchCon in Baltimore.
Indeed.
There you go.
Yes. And everyone out there, and I'm calling it. You're all invited. Scotch.
Awesome.
Yes. ScotchCon.
I think we'll call it Old Cap Con.
There you go.
Old Cap.
The OC Con.
So please, Sean, spread the word. Tell everybody about you. Where can they find you? Track you down.
Stalk you.
Stalk you.
Yeah, I need some more of those. So the easy one is SeanForney.com. I can see it on the screen there. You've got spelling of my name, so just add .com to the end there. Twitter and Instagram are both at Sean Forney Art, and Facebook is Sean Forney Illustration.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to thank everyone right now. So, and I'm thanking you in person. Sean, thank you so much for coming on. I know you're busy, but you're awesome. It's great seeing you, buddy. Looking forward to seeing you in San Diego. I will also be at Chicago. I'll be at Comic-Con Revolution in Chicago the first weekend in June. Have you thought about that? Consider that show?
I would consider it, but I'm going to take some time, make sure I've got all the artwork going for the Kickstarter and whatnot. Take a little break before the madness of San Diego.
Yeah. And did you happen to see, when you went to Celebration, did you happen to see Peter Mayhew at all? Because I heard he was there, and then he had to leave early. He wasn't feeling well. He had to retire back to his room.
No, I did not see him. I did not really get to see many of the celebrities because, they've kind of got their own cordon off area at the celebration thing. So we never really ventured back there.
Yeah.
So no, unfortunately, I missed the opportunity to see him there.
Did you set up as an exhibitor, as an artist?
No, for the first time in years, we just went as fans.
Nice.
We just went and had some fun for 5 days. We saw the episode 9 panel, saw the Clone Wars panel, the Rebels panel, saw like the making of Solo. If you ever get the opportunity and Doug Chang is at some sort of event, go watch his panel. It's all about how he does all the design work for the films. Amazing stuff. So
Awesome.
yeah, we just went and had fun doing all that.
Excellent.
All
All
right,
right,
everyone.
my friend. Niall, anything else?
That is it, everyone. I just want to say thank you. I'm glad we've got so many comments for a great show and a great guest. So, as always, guys, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Oh, Niall,
Yes.
Is there a possibility of our rumored next guest for Thursday? You think that could happen?
I think it can happen, but I think I'm going to get confirmation tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, good.
Due to some personal things going on, our Thursday's guest is in limbo. We do have a backup before anything's final. I was going to announce it tonight, but now it will stay secret until I have some further details.
All right, tally ho.
All right, everyone.
Good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone out there.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Week. And Sean, anytime you want to come on, please, just let us know.
Yes.
Will do.
It was
Thank
a
you,
pleasure.
guys. I really appreciate it.
All right,
Bye.
guys. Have a good Monday night, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye, guys.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics. We look forward to hanging out with all of our crowdfunding fans every time we go live. And don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel. And there's a little bell, you may want to hit that too. This way you get all the great notifications when we go live and when we upload some awesome content. You want to follow us? Sure, go right ahead at Twitter at CrowdFundComics with an X, Instagram Crowdfunding Comics, and Facebook at Crowdfunding Comics. Till next time, crowdfunding fans, we'll see you soon.